Has a name search online ever brought concern when you discovered more information about yourself online than you realized? I can relate. As a niche internet micro-celebrity, there is so much more out there about me than I would have realized. So much so that I deleted much of the social media that has any of my personal life attached to it in an attempt to stop people from finding something like a phone number or an address. Data brokers dedicate themselves to collecting and selling as much of your information as possible to scammers, spammers, and other malicious parties. An email address, your full name and health records, who knows what could be found if you dig deep enough. That's why this video is sponsored by Aura. Aura can find those data brokers and submit an opt-out request to get that information off the internet. Getting this info removed will not only protect you from hackers who could use it to access your bank accounts or social media, but also reduce the amount of spam calls and emails you may receive. There was a recent AT&T data breach that led to 73 million customer records being released on the dark web, with AT&T themselves recommending the use of strong passwords to monitor account activity and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Well, Aura can do all of that for you without having to download a multitude of different apps just because a company couldn't keep your data secure. If your information was compromised during the AT&T data breach, you wouldn't have to be so concerned because Aura is always on, always doing the hard work to keep you safe. I value my privacy as much as I value yours, so I recommend you go to aura.com/HarleyTBS to start your 2-week free trial. The link will also be in the description. Thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. On June the 15th, YouTuber ImAllexx's ex-girlfriend Elise released a statement where she alleged that he was both physically and verbally abusive, claiming that she wanted this information out there because she doesn't want to see another woman experience something similar. In this video, I would like to discuss these claims, provide more context where I can, and open a dialogue. As a content creator with several million subscribers, Alex is so deeply connected in the commentary scene that even I am one of his mutuals. So it's no surprise that there were claims made about him behind the scenes. But in the prior few weeks, I noticed that a discussion surrounding Alex was becoming louder and louder. However, with no evidence to speak of, the general dislike of Alex within the community, which could sway people's opinions behind the scenes, and some bizarre public statements, it seemed like either the situation wasn't going to be made public or that there was not much evidence to speak of. That was until now, with Elise releasing an entire Google Drive that includes a written statement from her, a collection of screenshots, pictures, and recorded footage that was collected with the sole intent to demonstrate just how abusive Alex was. To start, I think we should go over the document. The first statement in the document focuses on further context. She states that her relationship with Alex officially started on March the 17th, 2023, further stating that while the relationship started smooth, that after some time passed, their conversations over Discord became more and more hostile. As she recounted, her relationship with Alex would start to fall apart as their arguments would turn more intense, and Alex would turn on his camera to threaten her, even instructing her to hurt herself when she had told him that she'd dealt with similar struggles in the past. Following this paragraph, she provides some evidence to show what she's claiming is true. This becomes consistent with every part of the document. She attaches several screenshots that show Alex hurling a plethora of hurtful comments, including everything from calling her a whore to the arser, with him spamming her over and over in several conversations over several hours in a similar style. She continues, Alex would hold the potential of breaking up with her over her head and would threaten to reconnect with his former partners during their arguments, with her later establishing that he continued to stalk his previous ex's social media during their relationship and had kept explicit images from them on his phone. Following this, she attaches some of her messages with Alex where he would treat her like tell her that the relationship was over, and later love bomb her in an attempt to bring her back. She uses this section to also justify why she didn't leave. She thought that he meant his apologies, and that he would stop if she communicated it properly. She also establishes that she's been struggling with depression for a while, and that her general sadness due to such would invoke anger from Alex, who would scream at her over the phone, and she would in turn hang up on him because she couldn't take it. Quote, I had to calmly approach him and watch my tone when I couldn't even get out of bed. She would be told that he was only telling her that he was sorry so that she would shut up, and she describes his behavior as one-sided narcissistic arguments. He would also degrade her and his own friends while platforming himself, stating that he could do everything he wanted alone and without anyone around him. He would also have work-related arguments with her nearly daily, with her asking for his advice on content creation being responded to with him saying, you should be grateful that someone with the expertise I have tried to talk to you about something like that. During this conversation, he would also throw out the N-word and follow it with 4 handshakes. For some reason, I genuinely can't work this out. The egotistical comments continue. You're like everyone else. Stupid fucking idiots who think they know better than the only man who has successfully done it all. This is in response to her approaching him with excitement about her plan to stream on Twitch, and she alleges that in response all he gave her were reasons why it wouldn't work and reasons not to. There's a section of this document that she also dedicates to an argument that took place when they traveled to Italy for a holiday, and Alex was watching a video about a girl who had lived through a traumatic experience. She noticed what video he was watching and opened up to Alex about her experience with SA and trauma. In response, he said that he didn't want to know what other guys had done to her. Then, after she broke down crying, he sent her the message, "You ruin every moment," and also, "I have no fond memories with you." Later in the year, he would move into his own house and invited her to move in with him. At this point, she finally spoke up and told him that she was scared to move in with him because of how he's treated her. This led to another argument where he threatened to kill her. In spite of that, in the end, she did move in with Alex. And at this point, she started to record evidence and open up to her mother about what she was dealing with. Quote, "Things are fine, then bad, fine, then bad. When I say fine, I mean I've not forgiven him or feel better, but I'll move on so he stops complaining and being mad that I'm upset with his actions. I've never wanted to leave someone so badly or come home so badly. I can't help holding back tears whenever I think of coming home away from this hellhole. I'm literally on the brink of a breakdown. Whenever I see you and Dad, I just want to be home." After she moved in with him, the apparently got worse. On the 19th of October, he got physical. She alleges that during an argument with him, she tried to head downstairs and he grabbed her by the hood, pulling her back until she hit the floor. He told her that she wasn't getting away, and so she ran for the bathroom. But he stopped her, put her in a headlock, and covered her mouth so that she couldn't scream. In the end, she managed to reach the bathroom and lock it, so that all he could do was hurl her through the door. During another argument, he would also break her glasses and then hide them, making it into a joke when she found them in the trash. Their domestic issues reached a climax on the 28th of December, when her parents were set to come over, and while she was cleaning the kitchen, Alex came up to her under the assumption that she was mad with him and asked what was wrong. When she denied it, he would get hysterical and shout at her over it. He would, in a panicked state, ask what chores he could do, and so she gave him several chores, with him then screaming at her that he couldn't handle more than one task at a time. She would then start to walk away from the kitchen, and then he kicked her in the back. At this point, she asked a friend to pick her up, as she couldn't live with the abuse anymore. As she was packing, he followed her around the house screaming at her. She recorded this. She would leave, but later return to collect her $4,000 setup that he threatened to throw outside, but when she arrived, she found everything taken apart on the floor, with her keyboard smashed and scattered, and when she got home, she discovered that both of her monitors were also smashed, and her camera was destroyed. For months after the end of the relationship, he continued to contact her, pleading with her to take him back, and trying to convince her that all they needed was some time. She notes that he then started doing many of the things that he knew would provoke a reaction in her, refollowing his exes and people he'd slept with, and inviting her back to the house with the offer of dinner. She would block him over and over, and he would continue to contact her on more and more social media platforms, begging for a phone call so he could move on. At some point, he then has what I would describe as a breakdown. He apologizes to her and confesses to everything he'd ever done to her in voice notes and videos where he's crying. She would respond to these telling him that he'd abused her, and he would reply saying that she'd abused him too, only to walk it back saying that he was joking. What follows is hundreds of messages from him that I would describe as almost manic, him purchasing her Amazon gifts as an apology and delivering her handwritten notes apologizing for what he did. Towards the end of this document, she posits a scenario that she's scared of, where he would have came out first about all this and tried to make himself into the victim. This is based on an argument that she claims they had during the relationship, where he made a joke about stealing her cat and even breaking her cat's neck, and in response she picked up and took her cat away. He claims that during this altercation she punched him in the face. Obviously, she denies that claim. She also attaches screenshots here that she believes provide more context and disprove this claim. She also confesses to a separate altercation in September where he was shouting at her and she slapped him in the face. The full story of this has yet to be discussed in depth by either party. The document ends with the following. For legal and obvious reasons, I won't attach all of the evidence I have, but in due time, it may be made public. He has tried to get me to stay quiet online and has suggested he would deny all of this. If that happens, I will release more undeniable evidence. With that information in mind, let's look at the evidence she attached to these claims in the Google Drive.
Sorry first.
So I'm a fucking whore-mouth bitch retard cunt.
Is it generally because you're just brain dead?
Yeah, I'm very brain dead, yeah.
Is that why you decided to go on the offensive instead of the
Didn't go on the
maybe?
offensive.
Okay. I don't know what to call what you did. It was weird. It's always weird. You always take the weird route. Just do the normal route, which is just do the normal route, but a normal girlfriend
You're
would do.
acting like
I
this is
didn't
all
mean
just
it.
me, and that's something you really need to fucking fix.
I'm gonna bash your head against the wall with a brick if you don't shut the fuck up. Because this one, genuinely, this one, you fucked this, royally fucked this.
Within this Google Drive is a plethora of different clips like the one I just played. The previous clip was of a call between Alex and Elise and is meant to demonstrate the verbal abuse that she was subjected to. I think hearing these interactions does more to demonstrate how this relationship was than any words, so most of them will be left with only a brief comment. The next two clips in this drive are conversations between Alex and Elise that emphasizes the egotistical comments that he would make towards her and reinforces the prior discussed conversation where he shouted at her for simply discussing the possibility of being a streamer.
What drives me mental is, I think I may have said like 100 times to the point where it's actually really hard to follow what I'm saying because it's so flexible. I've gone, you could do this, but you might be able to do that, but you might be able to do that, and you might be able to do this, and this might work, but you might be able to do that. And it sounds mental. I don't even understand how you could possibly actually follow along to it. Like most of my friends struggle to actually understand what I'm saying. But that's why I'm a professional and you're all not.
And
like massive issues there. And you think you can just ignore them because like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I don't know. Your boyfriend's a famous internet celebrity and doesn't trust these people because he has to keep his circle small. Because you might not have anything to lose because your life might be down the drain, but I still have quite a lot that I would like to give. You're making it incredibly hard for me. Just like Lewis did.
Yeah.
I hate all of you. You guys are like I can't make any videos of Paul Breach.
then she attaches another clip from a Discord call with him where he continues to hurl similar insults as seen in the text, presumably to serve as more concrete evidence of his behavior, to make it more difficult for him to refute these claims.
Thing about you, and this is the thing, and this is why I can go round and round in circles. I join call, and when I'm getting, you're talking to me, going, this is the thing, even though now, when it's too late, you admit that you did everything wrong. But when it actually matters, when you should lay down like a good dog, you don't do it. You fight for some reason. I don't know why you fight, because you're losing, because you end up admitting that you it all up anyway. So it's just weird. And I know that you're going to end up admitting that you it all up.
Following those Discord clips is the aforementioned recording that she took at the point where she was leaving Alex's house and packing up her possessions after he kicked her.
Over what? I don't understand. It's not like you've got anything to be stuck up over. But for some reason, something isn't good enough for you. You get to do whatever you want all day. It's like, and then you look like a miserable little all the time. Like, your face is annoying to look at, like when I come downstairs. Like, I'm actually fed up of looking at you. Which is why I sleep downstairs, because I don't want to have to go upstairs and, oh, you're taking all the covers. It's like, woman just like asked me to buy another one, or stop complaining. Like, nothing, the thing is, it annoys me, nothing needs to be an argument, because everything is fixable. Buy a new duvet, I sleep downstairs. But no, you've always got to act like none of this stuff, because you don't actually try and fix any of your problems. Like, it's infuriating at this point. Like earlier, you're miserable about something in the kitchen. All you have to do is say what it is and it's fixed. It's fine. You don't have to, like, you don't clean up after yourself. Neither do you. So, we're even. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't go around complaining about everything that you don't clean up after. Why? Because you don't look about it in your fucking little small brain. You don't even want us to pay for any of it. So, who really cares what you have to say? And what does it even matter? If you want to clean up, I'll buy one. It's my money. But this is the thing, even right now, you just ignore all of that. I'm giving you options for everything, you just ignore everything. You're not actually trying to sort out any of these problems. And if you've got problems with bins, man, why don't you call them? Why does it have to be me? You can call people, you can get it sorted, you can take them out if you want to. But no, because Alice doesn't actually do anything. I'm trying to right now, I'm spending pretty much every single day trying to figure out where £75,000 has gone. And whether I'm ever going to get it. And then any of my future YouTube revenue. Because the company's holding my channel hostage. So yeah, sorry I forget about to clean the side sometimes. I got bigger fish to fry. And I still have to post.
Go away.
You just don't think about any of that.
Go away. Go away. So are you. Ironically.
Huh?
So are you.
I tried to stop this like 7 times
Then you could
earlier.
have stopped. It was you. It was all you.
I tried to stop it.
Go away.
I did try to
Go
stop
away.
it.
Go away. Just go away.
Infuriating.
Yes.
Like, if you had to do half the shit I had to do, you would understand why loads of stuff doesn't get done. You don't even know the fucking
Go away. Just go away.
You upload one
Go away.
half-assed
Go
video
away.
every 3
Go
weeks.
away.
And it does
Go
terribly.
away. Go away. Go away.
Well, I slept up here because you made me. I wanted to sleep downstairs so I could actually wake up on time today.
I didn't make you.
Yes, you did.
No.
You were throwing a fucking fit.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Well, you can stop this right now.
Yes, shut up. You're following me and going on. Off. Please.
This video can be used as a clear reference point when discussing this situation. It encapsulates every issue discussed thus far, and with the brief context that this was right after he attacked her, it makes the event even worse. The final of these files is an audio recording sent to Elise from Alex. Within it, he can be heard crying, apologizing, and confessing to much of the claims she made about him.
Sorry, my phone cut off. It wasn't acceptable behaviour, like in any way, shape or form. It was insane. Like, I guess I've just been stuck in that cycle for so long that I felt like I could do no wrong. I felt like I was the oh, look at me, I do all this work and I do everything and I try and do this and, just nobody's appreciative and, I know you appreciated it and I know that you appreciated the effort that I used to put in. And then I just stopped because I had you and you're my girlfriend and we lived together, and the more further we got through our relationship, the less effort I put in. And if it wasn't for you leaving, I might never, ever have changed my ways. I might have just continued on like that. At the end of the day, the only thing that's important is that I didn't listen to you. You were right. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. I was impossible to work with. I didn't make it easy. I constantly thought inwards about myself and not about you and what was going on. I I didn't make any attempts to change. I didn't make any attempts to fix my life. I made excuses. And it got to the point where I wanted to be alone, because if I was alone, nobody could tell me that I was up and that I was doing anything wrong. And for the first week that you weren't here, I just spent the entire week doing nothing. And after that week, I realised just kind of like how up my life was, and I have made attempts to try and fix it. You know, I have a schedule, I take out the bins, I look after the cats. You know, I'm like a functioning person. I go out for my bike ride. I've been sorting out my doctor's appointment, even though it's pretty hard in the middle of nowhere. I am just like so frustrated because I've been doing all of that, but then I've been getting on with you, and instead of like apologizing, I've been trying to just be like, oh no, look, I'm good now. Like, I'm perfectly fine now. I'm like a person. Everything's great. And I realise that must come across as like so dismissive to you. Or also like, why is he doing that stuff now? Why is he being like this now? Why couldn't it have been like this back then? And then you get upset or angry, which is fine and understandable. Or I do something to upset and anger you, like following some idiot on Twitter or Instagram, some woman. And yeah, you must think like, oh, this guy's like, he's just and he's being a and he's not stopping being a and he's not going to apologise for what I did, and he's not going to try and make it work with me. He just kind of wants me to be here. He doesn't want to lose me. I was trying to be like too cool and nonchalant at points, and then I would let it slip how uncool and how not well I was taking everything, and by that I mean my behaviour. I haven't been lashing out at you because of the fact that you left me. I've been lashing out at you because of the fact that I didn't fix my stuff. And I think what's worse, I'm being completely honest here, because I don't want to leave anything off the table at this point, is that, like, I generally had a conversation, like, with my friends a few months ago just about, like, how much I feel like, you know, I've just, like, I don't feel good about myself, and I hadn't, and I would wake up a lot of the times when I was with you, and I'd think, I knew that I, like, didn't deserve to still be with you, and instead of fixing it, I was just like, oh, I've already anyway. I became worse. Like, I sabotaged it. And it was intentional, because I knew that I was being and I just thought, oh, it's already too late. And it's really poor. Obviously it wasn't as clean cut as that. A lot of this stuff has been really complicated to work out, you know, because I blow hot and cold. You've seen me. I'm apologising 1 minute, shouting the next. Angry 1 minute, please come here, hold me. You know. It's like, I just feel like I've been really battling through this very weird thing. Also, you know, with issues we'd have, you did this. Oh wait, no, I see you didn't. It's okay, don't worry about it, forget about it. But it doesn't matter. I opened up a wound, and it scars, and the scar is always there. Just because I feel okay about it now doesn't mean that you did. And when I used to say stuff about, like, why can't we just move on, it's because I felt like I felt like I was comfortable, and I didn't make the effort to see if you were. And if you weren't, because I was, I didn't understand why you couldn't be. Now, I don't really know what that is, but I know that it's wrong, and I know that I knew of it, and I To be honest, I thought that at a certain point, when I was sleeping on the sofa and stuff, I convinced myself that that's what you wanted. You obviously didn't, so I'm not saying you wanted it and I did it. As in, I convinced myself because I was making an excuse for myself, not as in, I was doing it for you. I don't mean if I say anything along those lines, that's not how I mean it. I wasn't doing it for you, I was doing it for me. It was easier to avoid you. I wasn't putting the effort in. Because you obviously had said, like you have on this, like, give me time to come back, talk properly, apologise, I need time to process stuff. And I wasn't doing it. And then I started doing it almost like out of spite. Like, I started doing it being like, oh, yeah, well, I'm sleeping on the sofa now. Isn't this what you wanted? Isn't this what you wanted me to go away? Because I'm such a up. It was like self-pitying, self-absorbed bullshit. And, yeah, it's just really, like, up thing to do to you at the end of the relationship. So I know why you left, because at that point, there was, like, no love. At least I wasn't showing it anyway. A kiss when you're playing League probably was more annoying than anything, because you know I was probably doing it to avoid our problems. You know, I got too reliant on you putting me in my place and then you forgiving me. Like, it just became a cycle. I allowed you to be the fixer-upper of our relationship, and it wasn't right, you know? And then I made everything worse. There's so much more that I could go into detail about and talk about. I don't know. Really, like, there's a lot. It's sometimes, like, hard to keep on track, and, you know, but I feel like, right, like, you know, that's something that I wanted to say on top of everything. I just want to make it really clear that, like, it's, like, it was me. And anything that I said before in any argument, I have looked back at all of them. I went back and read them. I read old iMessages from us from the beginning of the last year. I could see how I caused everything. Jealous about you playing games with your friends because I wanted you to dedicate your life to me. You know, not in a weird way. I just, like, I wanted to run off into the sunset with you. I was madly in love. But probably, you know, I had, my toe. Oh, Jesus Christ. No. I was madly in love, and, I wanted to just keep you as my own. I don't want anybody else to have your time or anything. And, yeah, it's up because, like, now I understand it. Like, when I started playing games with my mates, I didn't have, at the time I was just working. Like, I was jealous of what you had, and I wanted to be involved because my friends had stopped playing games ages ago. Like, it didn't really talk. Like, everybody had moved away. Like, at the time we met, the only thing I had going was making YouTube videos and you. And, you know, that's why for the first, like, 3-4 months, like, I was just, like, constantly obsessed. And then I did try to make it more healthy. That's why I started playing games with my friends. But even then, like, I started to do that at the point where I should have been giving you more attention. Like, I was doing everything in the wrong order. And for the wrong reasons. And I am deeply sorry for that. And I just wanted to make that clear, that I can see every single direction where I went wrong. And obviously there's more stuff that upset you. You know, and, you know, my behaviour recently, like, after that, you know, that's just a horrible misplace of my own ego. Like, I have wanted you to run back to me. And I wanted you to, you know, be forgiving. And I wanted you to just kind of go, yeah, that's good enough, Alex, you've tried, or we'll work on it. And you did do that. It's the worst part, is you did do that. And at the time, I wanted so much more. I was, like, so desperate for you to just, like, come back home. That anything else that wasn't that, just made me so frustrated because, you know, I felt like it was slipping away, but not just that. I felt like, you know, I even said to you, like, I'm worried that I haven't got to a place. I was still being vicious and lashing out at you and being angry. But I was like using it as like an excuse to do it, being like, look, I might do it. It was like, it was blackmail. Like, I was being like, you should call me, because if you don't call me, you're going to lose the apology, and I'm going to be all angry. And it's because I couldn't control my emotions at all. I wasn't trying to. I wanted to. I felt like anytime you pulled away, I wanted to just burn everything down. That was just where my brain went to. Just everything. Yeah, obviously, I'm not at that place anymore. But I was for like 4 months, so that's way too long. Obviously, there are points where I was doing better, but I wanted you to move at my pace. And obviously, I was sprinting because I did know the damage I'd done. So I was trying to push you too fast and further than you wanted by showering you in gifts and sending you messages and trying to call you and being like, let's meet up and all of that. I should have done it all in the first week. I'm really deeply sorry that it took me this long to really reflect properly on everything. I was still victimizing myself, and it was wrong of me, and I should not have made that even more of an issue for you. Just really I really wasn't responsible. I wasn't being responsible, I mean. Because I was responsible, but I wasn't being responsible for your feelings. And, you know, I can't believe that I was, how I was thinking. I'm sorry that this is super long on top of everything I've already sent you. I'll cut it here and wait for you to respond, and then, maybe I'll send more or whatever. I just want you to know that it's not your fault. And it wasn't your responsibility to fix me. And it wasn't your responsibility. Like, I only came to this conclusion because I had to do it myself. Like, I had to go through this to get to this point, to figure this out. You didn't have to. You didn't have to be a part of this. You didn't have to have this happen. I should have done this at my own time, on my own accord. But I chose to bury my issues before fixing them. But it's not you. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Like, you're not responsible for this. You're not responsible for what happened. You tried your best. It's nothing to do with you. It's not because there's something wrong with you. It's not because you're lesser or because you have issues. It's not because of that. Like, you were fine. It's not because you... It's not because of you. It's nothing to do with you. You were so open with me about so many things. I knew how you felt about all the stuff that I used to make excuses as to why I was feeling that way. Sorry. Like, I knew how you felt about everything. We spoke about everything. We covered everything. We buried everything. We'd have conversations about everything. It took me to meet your friends to stop being a bitch about them. That's not acceptable. You just shouldn't have been a bitch about them in the first place. They were lovely people. I trusted them. Obviously, the recent stuff, was kind of sucks, but that wasn't your fault. And, you know, you did actually tell me, and you were upfront and honest about it, which is more than I could say for how I've been. And instead, I used that to call you a liar. So I understand why you, I understand it's my fault why we have a lot of all of the issues. Sorry, not a lot. I'm not trying to let myself get off the hook. All of them. And with work and stuff, I know that you're just trying to enjoy it. And I was making it unenjoyable for you because I wasn't having fun. So I believed that everybody else shouldn't have fun and that you shouldn't have fun. And that I convinced myself that life is miserable and life is f***ing putting up with stuff. And, you know, I just remember moments with you where I was my happiest and, you know, sat in your bedroom, just me and you, just lying there together. And, you know, it should have been that all the time. And when we got bare, or you got bare, sorry, still doing it, you know, just how happy I was for you, because I thought it would help you heal. But I was right there just making stuff worse. I made them, you know, even your relationship with the cat, like, I was upsetting you. And because I was being selfish and being like, why doesn't she, you know, I was like, why doesn't she want to share the cat with me? And it's because of the way that I was acting. And I knew that, by the way, it's not me, I didn't just figure that out. Like, I knew that back then. I was like, oh, of course she's going to take the cat away from me. I'm being a dick. Why would she want a cat near me? She doesn't want the cat to be attached to me because she probably wants to leave. And I felt that at the time, and instead of doing anything about it, I just fucking moped and sulked like a child. I'm sorry for getting emotional. I'm just really angry at myself. Because you were the best. And I was the oh God. But you were, you know. And even all the way back to when you said that stuff about the bipolar disorder. And I was mean. I read that text the other day. And I'm so angry. Like, why was I like that to you? I know what I meant at the time, but I was making it about me. And you said that, you knew that. And I did apologise back then. But I didn't change any behaviour. Like, I saw you say that and I thought, oh, that's an excuse for why she doesn't text me. That's an excuse for why she doesn't want to talk to me. Because I was down your throat. And in reality, you were just trying to say it's not my fault and I'm doing my best. But instead I thought you were using it because I so convinced myself that like, you were out of my league and that I didn't deserve you. And also that I was going to it up. I'd convinced myself that you were always looking for a way out. When in reality, you just wanted me to be normal. You didn't want my money. You didn't want anything from me apart from me to just be what I could be all the time. And I'm so sorry, Alice. I'm so sorry. I let you down. And, I don't deserve to be forgiven. I don't deserve anything. I should be held accountable for my mistakes. To you, it was wrong. And I'm sorry, but it's taken you to do everything in your power to really make me understand it. I really held on to the last minute to not do this. Like, I tried my best to avoid this. And I don't know why, because if I'd have done it, if I'd have actually just truly been like, I suck, I just didn't want to admit it because honestly, I had convinced myself that my ego was the only thing that was keeping me going. I'd convinced myself it was the only reason I was working. I'd convinced myself it was the only reason why I could get anything done. And that if I didn't have my ego, then I wouldn't be able to work, and I'd give up on everything, and I'd quit. And then, I'd give up on life, and I'd just be this mopey loser. When in reality, I think if I'd have just given up on everything, I would have been happy with you. But instead, I convinced myself that this terrible behaviour was powering me like a machine. And I told myself that without it, I would not be able to work and make myself do stuff, because I beat myself up all the time to work. I don't do it for fun. I wasn't doing anything out of enjoyment. I was doing it like, I've got to do this. If I don't do this, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to stuff up. I've got, nobody's going to want to be around me. Nobody's going to be friends with me. But in the process, I was just pushing you away. And like you said it the other day, that you'd rather have nothing and be happy than have everything and be miserable. And, I would do anything in the world to have absolutely nothing right now apart from you. I would trade all of this, everything here, because it's worth nothing. It's not worth anything. It's just built on being miserable. You were the only thing I had that I actually enjoyed. And I convinced myself that somehow that loads of it was fake and wrong. And I used it to hurt you. I'm going to leave this here. I don't know what you'll have to say. And I understand, really, whatever happens. Like, I'm not going to hold anything against you. Like, it's not your fault. I don't hold any of it against you. I don't hold anything. I understand. Like, I do. And I'm sorry for crying. I just, when I start, I don't open up ever, because I have kind of shut all of this stuff down for so long. Like, I hadn't cried in forever. The only time I ever cried is when I apologised to you, and that was because I realised kind of how much I'd fucked stuff up. And, seeing you hurt is just the worst. I don't want that. I don't want to see you hurting. I want that less than anything in the world. And I'm sorry for putting you through so much.
And that is all of the relevant evidence provided by Elise. Jumping in here to let you know that there's been an update on this situation. As the video is focusing on the Alice situation, I will not be discussing the claims made here, but for added context, last night, King Arnie, one of Alex's close collaborators several years ago, and the person behind the infamous Innocent People Don't Stay Quiet This Long quote in regards to Slazo, came out and discussed a relationship that she had with Alex from June 2017 to March 2018. Within this document, she makes several claims, the first of which being that it was the most toxic relationship she'd ever had, and that she was lucky to get out when she did. Secondly, she claims that he made her feel insane, did not regard her with any respect or care, and that he would threaten to take his own life anytime they had a disagreement. Thirdly, she discusses the Slazo situation and places all of the blame on him for how that situation was mishandled, and mentions how Alex single-handedly convinced everyone that Slazo was not just a bad boyfriend, but someone who'd committed SA, and that everyone else got the blame for his words. Out of everything she said here, this is the part that I struggle to believe the most, as it simply does not make sense with her own statements. Arnie herself was very active in making false claims about Slazo too, and as I mentioned, even stated publicly that he couldn't be innocent because he didn't immediately respond to the claims. I'm sure Alex played a large part in the perception of these claims behind the scenes, but I do believe everyone involved in those false claims has their own part to take responsibility for. And I feel it's not reasonable to hoist all of the blame on a fall guy when he's facing controversy without also admitting your own part in mishandling those claims. The fourth point she makes is in regards to Alex's Back to Nothing video that she says was made after she broke up with him, and argues that it was a similar manipulation tactic to make her talk to him again as Elise showed Alex using when she attempted to break up with him. Finally, she makes the allegation that Alex laid a finger on her one time when she was trying to run away from a conflict and he grabbed her. Alongside this, another one of Alex's exes has come out and alleged allegations against him, that being a girl by the name of Jess, who actually made these allegations public back in 2020 but didn't name Alex at the time. This statement reads the following: "The start of my last relationship was everything I had wanted at the time. I was already living my best life, so things were only improving. The guy was super lovely and sweet to me, always cared and went the extra mile, but something changed not long into the relationship. It was like he was keeping things away from me, which is obvious you'd tell your partner. I mean, I would have in that situation. There came a time his ex came back into the picture, and like anyone, I felt a horrible gut feeling. When they met up, she ended up going to his flat and went out clubbing with him and some mates, all of which I had to find out through social media. Nothing from him. I'd already made it apparent that it made me uncomfortable, them two being together, but his response when I wasn't happy was, I didn't think it was a big deal, and I have to be friends with her for work. Anything I'd say was met with an excuse. No, sorry, I'll tell you next time, or anything. So I just had to push how I felt aside and watch them on calls every night and talk all the time. Shortly afterwards, he broke up with me as he was planning on moving elsewhere, and he said the last 6 months were the worst of his life and how nothing good has happened. I was devastated and spent countless nights crying myself to sleep because at the time I genuinely loved this guy and I'd do anything for him, and it hurt a lot I couldn't make him happy. I made one tweet during the breakup that I saw a good-looking guy in the gym, and he flips out at me saying I'm a liar for telling him I'd wait for him and would only like him and he doesn't ever want to be with me again. I broke down at work crying on the phone to him, trying to apologize and saying how genuine I was when I said I'd happily wait for him. All I did was make a tweet about someone else being attractive. Eventually, he agreed to let me come and see him, and we started back up again as he said he was sorry for getting angry because he just missed me. He never moved in the end, so I'm glad I had to experience those awful nights wondering why I wasn't good enough anymore for no reason. One night he went out and left his laptop with me. I looked through some of his messages and he was a lot closer with his ex than he let on. He would tell her his problems, but to me he didn't want to drag me down or get me involved. He also messaged a girl complimenting her ass, but me tweeting something was attractive was the end of the world? I never mentioned this to him because I knew it would just cause an argument. I could never win with him. As time went on, anything that bothered me that I told him, I'd just be met with a load of messages that started with, I'm too busy, I don't have time for this, I'm not happy, I've got other things to worry about, the list goes on. He would always get angry at me saying my feelings. Looking at him, he's not a scary person, but he scared me when he was angry. At this point, my feelings pretty much felt invalid, and I knew I couldn't go to him about anything. I still did though. Whenever he upset me, I'd tell him and was met with the same response. Countless times, he'd reverse the situation and play the victim, to which I'd stop being upset and feel sympathy for him. I was always there for him, with advice and help, but he was never there for me. One time, he told me he was feeling really down, so I drove 3 hours in the middle of the night to see him. Yet when I told him I was down, I got met with something like, I'm working. For my 22nd, I spent the majority of my birthday alone watching TWD as he was in bed all day. But I can't be upset at that because his excuse was being depressed. I picked out flowers as a present for him and he bought me some Jaffa cakes which I later got told were meant for both of us. I'm not one to compare gifts as I love to give, but I took this guy to a 5-star hotel for his 21st and he couldn't even organize something nice for us to do on mine. This situation's where he's being pure evil, telling me he hates my friends during an argument about how I felt uncomfortable being sat next to a male Uber driver who was himself at times and kept staring at me and my friends. He sat in the back just so he could talk to his friends, and I just became invisible. He blamed me for not telling him sooner. However, if he had paid attention to me as a person, he would know I have social anxiety and find confrontation, especially that kind, really difficult to deal with. He told me he hates fat people, then went on to jokingly call me fat when he knew I wasn't happy with my weight. I feel lucky that my depression doesn't get in the way of making others happy. No matter how bad I get, I can always make sure others are okay. Now I know not everyone has that same mindset. He struggled with his own mental health issues. He broke up with me on Valentine's Day this year after I sent him a text saying it doesn't feel like he appreciates me / loves me anymore, in which he blames me for breaking up with him, which I didn't. He gave me excuses on why he couldn't do this anymore. Again, I'm too busy, I'm working, etc. I even booked time off just to spend it with him. Told him the dates, and he never bothered to arrange to see each other. Again, too busy for me. He had a go at me, saying I didn't allow him to just go shopping with his mate. What triggered the message was him saying he was going out for drinks after saying he has no time for me. The fact I had to see his own friends with their girlfriends and seeing them make time for one another hurt like hell. His excuse for that was that they do that because they aren't as passionate about their job as he is, so they waste their time. He never came to see me because that took away too many days where he could have been working instead. This made me feel like I didn't deserve his time or was even worth his time. Going on from Valentine's Day, I was obviously upset it was over, but I was able to manage it pretty easily at first. I'd try and talk to him, but he'd rarely respond. It wasn't until COVID hit that my own mental health crumbled more, and I had to watch people die every day in April. This was when I really needed him to be around. Not that he ever was anyway. It got to a point where I was sat in my car on the verge of hurting myself when I needed to speak to someone. I called him and in the end he turned his phone off and didn't answer because he couldn't be bothered to talk to me. For days after I was having a breakdown every day and I just wanted to talk to him. I still struggle to understand why he broke up with me, as the only thing he changed in his life was getting rid of me. He didn't get rid of anyone else. Apparently getting rid of me was supposed to make his life better. Yet his friends were the ones who got under his skin, and they're still around to this day. Eventually he blocked my number. I would see him on social media talking to everyone and anyone, calling random girls he'd never talked about before, and when I pointed out that he can talk to them but not me, he kicked off saying that's basically me trying to tell him he can't have friends. All I wanted to know was why I wasn't allowed the time of day, but this other new girl was. He'd be more than happy to talk to her about her mental state but not mine. Anything I would bring up after the breakup, I was yet again met with, I'm depressed, I'm busy, I can do what I want, I don't need this. For someone who would constantly remind me he had depression and used it against me, he never once took my mental state into consideration. I could have gone to a certain person about this situation, but he threatened me, saying that if I went to said person, I'd have no chance of ever being with him again. Well, now I don't want to ever be with you anymore. I don't see why people can't know now. The only leverage he had has now gone. This guy made me feel completely worthless, self-conscious, and gave me such a lack of trust in people that it's taken me aback how much my current partner is understanding and willing to help me overcome my depression. He's literally having to deal with that damage my ex caused. There's so much to it that I could go on page after page, but these are just the main points that stick out for me right now. No doubt if he catches wind of this, I'll get accused of lying or he'll just shout at me like he used to. I told him that he was mentally and he said, don't go throwing that around. I'd like to have full closure on our relationship, but I know he will never admit how selfish and cruel he was, so this is all I can do. I have a lot of friends who have seen texts and heard voice messages from him, and don't worry, they don't like you either and will back this. From November 2018 to February 2020, I was in an on and off relationship with Alex, as everyone seems to experience the first few months up to a year were as you'd expect with a brand new relationship. I can't speak much now, as 4 years later I have suppressed these memories and don't tend to think back on that time. I had made a statement in 2020 for my own personal closure and didn't expect it to go anywhere but just exist. I really wanted to reach out to someone, but I knew I didn't have the evidence because I deleted our messages to try and get over the breakup. I've included my original statement alongside a Facebook message between Alex and my friend during an insomnia event where he thought I wasn't in our hotel room. He left to go see Slazzo before the accusations, and I'd woken up to banging at the door to said friends showing me this message and saying Alex was looking for me. I was in bed next to him, he just hadn't bothered to look. When confronted, he laughed about it, and I told him to never say that about me again. While I'm thankful I'm now in a position where my current partner has helped me heal through the damage Alex caused, my heart breaks for Elise having gone through so much worse and still dealing with the consequences. She deserves nothing but peace and happiness here on out. Nothing she has done will justify his actions towards her. On another note, since the allegations have come out, there have been several responses from creators who were close to Alex. I'll cover them all in order. ImAllexx made an Instagram post about the subject. It read, I'm aware of this situation. I would usually wait until both sides have said their side publicly before speaking about it, but I think the evidence here is overwhelming. I spent this morning reading over what Elise had written and going over the evidence she's provided, and no one should have to go through what she has. It's awful and disturbing and has seriously shocked me. I'm still processing what happened. This is one of the worst situations I've ever seen in my life, and I hope Elise is okay. It took a lot of courage to speak about this. ImAllexx also put out several Instagram stories where he said that he was not aware of the claims until now and didn't know the two had broken up until April, stating that he'd been in the dark on all of this until recent. Following this, Willini's ex-girlfriend, Mia, released a similar story that said, this is something I've been aware of since May last year, and is something that, in my opinion, is well known throughout the industry. I can't speak for people who aren't in our group or who I don't see regularly, but the openness at which this was discussed amongst people last year, I genuinely find it hard to believe that creators close to Alex had no idea what was going on. When I found out Alex and I were signed to the same talent agency, I immediately made them aware of the accusations and put pressure on them to drop him, which they did in June of 2023. From the documents in this drive, it looks like things escalated even further from what I was aware of, emotional threats of violence, use of racial slurs, which is so heartbreaking. I don't know Elise personally, but sending her so much love and support. ImAllexx then released a follow-up which said, Alex and I lived together between 2018 to 2022. They started dating in 2023. I've only seen him in person 2 or 3 times since moving out. I don't socialize much at all in the typical UK YouTube circles, especially in the last couple of years. I only found out about this situation in general on April the 2nd of this year, and a fellow content creator brought it up to me in a call when I suggested a joint recording between us and him. He said he didn't know any specifics or what was even being alleged, just that it was bad. All I had heard prior to this is that they argued frequently. A couple of weeks later, Elise started posting TikToks alluding to the situation. It wasn't until just after that I got a bit more clarity when I was out for dinner with another creator and they brought up the fact that Elise had briefly published some text messages from him on TikTok before deleting them. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know just how bad it was until I went over all the information when it was made public. I don't want to take attention away from the victim, but I think it's important I clarify my perspective and timeline of events. ImAllexx also released a follow-up. This included several screenshots of conversations he'd had in private with other people, and further context to the distance he'd been at from Alex for a long period of time, and reinforced that he was not aware of any of this, and had not spoken to Alex about anything outside of YouTube, or more than several times in person in the last year. Will and E then released his statement on the situation. I really hope Elise is doing well and commend her massively for having the courage to get that out there. As Mia mentioned, there were rumors of his behavior earlier last year. Myself and a few others haven't had contact with him since, or been his friend for even longer. With that being said, the severity of the abuse that Elise published was far worse than anything I'd heard being discussed. That Google Drive is f***ing abhorrent, and what he put her through is inexcusable. Jay Swingler also came up with a statement where he said, creators who knew about the whole Alex situation before it became public, only now speaking on it is a prime example of creators being opportunists. Creators are so excited about drama, they completely forget it's a human being that's suffering. Where the f***'s the concern and genuine support for the girl? God, I hate influencers sometimes. Following ImAllexx's statements, one of his ex-girlfriends came out and alleged that he was actually a terrible person to them too, and that he was also aware of Alex's behavior, a claim that they since walked back. I read over their claims against ImAllexx, and I also read over ImAllexx's response, and I've decided to not include this within the video, not only because she failed to provide any solid accusations towards ImAllexx, but because his response seems to overwhelmingly highlight that there is no basis to the claim she's making. If more on that situation comes out, I will cover it, but for now, it would feel misplaced within this video where there actually is basis to the claims being made. I expect the statement from James Merritt to come out sometime soon as well, though as of recording, it has not happened yet. With it out of the way, I'd like to dedicate the rest of this video to giving my own thoughts on everything discussed so far. To me, the allegations surrounding Alex seem more than troubling. As several creators have said at this point, the amount of evidence involved is overwhelming. Regardless, I do not want to have a sour milk opinion by commenting in conclusive language before Alex has given the opportunity to respond. In regards to the voice message that Alex sent to Elise after they split, I actually do believe that he's being genuine. I think that Alex has some serious mental health issues that need to be addressed, and that in that voice message he was being honest. At any point where he could give himself an out to either downplay his own behavior or try and flip some of the blame onto her, he chooses not to. And when he spoke in vague language, he chose to interrupt himself just to double down on the fact that it was entirely his fault. Whether that was because he wanted to win her favor or because he felt guilt for what he did is another conversation. I think, in a way, I do have some empathy for him, but that should not be confused as sympathy, as he is entirely at fault for his own mistakes, and if everything is as it seems here, he should not have a platform either. Alex has spent a large part of his online career calling out abusive people that this situation has made him seem very alike to. And I think that's why, in part, people do not have any sympathy for Alex at all. He's made false claims before and mishandled situations exactly like this one with no consideration for how it may affect the other person's life, most notably in the Slazo situation. Treat others how you'd like to be treated is a strong value that many hold, and when it comes to a situation like this, it's not a surprise that creators in the community are celebrating and saying that whether their claims are true or not, they're happy that something like this happened to a person as dislikable as Alex. While I cannot entirely connect with that view, I do understand the perspective. I think that one of the greater concerns here lies in how many people were aware of this behavior and chose not to distance themselves from Alex, make others aware of it, or use the voice that they have to speak up and stop that behavior from being able to continue. I think that one of the greater concerns here lies in how many people were aware of this behavior and chose not to distance themselves from Alex, make others aware of it, or use the voice that they have to speak up and stop that behavior from being able to continue. But as this has only been speculated on by creators close to the situation, no one has been directly named as having known, and those where the possibility was there have vehemently denied knowing or have provided evidence to debunk those claims. Because of that fact, it's unlikely that people will be called out directly here. And as such, I hope the aforementioned people are able to hold themselves to account. They know who they are. All I can hope for is that the people involved in this situation get the help that they need. I'm not going to pretend that abusive people disappear from the world as soon as they lose their platform, and so instead, I think the best thing I could say here is that I hope Alex seeks therapy, is able to build better circles for himself in the real world, and create a better life where he doesn't hurt the people closest to him. And the people hurt by Alex are able to seek help for themselves, build their own better circles, and that they never have to go through something as traumatic as this again. So that's it. YouTuber ImAllexx was accused of verbal and physical abuse by an ex-partner. Several other partners have spoken out since, and this situation will likely continue to develop with an expected incoming response from Alex on the horizon. With strong evidence of the abuse, use of racial slurs, and the outcasting of Alex by his closest circles, I struggle to see him being able to recover from this, whether the claims are true or not. For now, I should be on the creators who were around Alex to see what those people have to say, or what they choose not to say. I'm sure with how much information is out there that I haven't been able to cover everything, as it's been a scramble to get this video together and create a cohesive comment on a subject without a response from Alex. And so I will follow up with anything else I want to discuss at a later date. I've been HarleyTBS. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you when either there's more evidence that comes out on this subject, or when I have another subject I would like to discuss with you. Peace.
Written in the back of my old diary, I gotta break sometime. It's underlined in lead, scrawled across the screen beneath the spider ring. I gotta break sometime. I left it all unread. And the more I know, the less I seem to care. Weighted down by everything and falling through the air. And the more I hold, the less that I can bear. But hey, I gotta break sometime. Cracked inside a kiln between the firing. I gotta break sometime. You glazed it anyway. Screamed across the city from a windowsill. I gotta break sometime. That's all you had to say. But the more I know, the less I seem to care. Weighted down by everything and falling through the air. And the more I hold, the less that I can bear. But hey, I gotta break sometime. Written in the back of my old diary, I gotta break sometime. It's underlined in lead, scrawled across the screen beneath the spider ring. I gotta break sometime. I left it